We are here at the USDA office, which is the United States Department of Agriculture, visiting with April here with the Farm Service Agency. And we're going to let her discuss a little bit about what ag means and what she does over here at the office that some of y'all may not be familiar with. April, we'll turn it over to you.
I'm April Cowling with the Monte County Farm Service Agency, and we administer the Farm Bill, the crop and commodity side. We run from disaster programs to our everyday programs of acreage reporting. We have a little bit of CRP, which is a conservation reserve program. Our biggest deal is hay production. We're getting quite a few more pecan producers this year, and to cover those crops, since they're not actually insurable, we have a non-insured assistance program, or the NAP program, that you can purchase. If you're a woman, it's free. It's $325 a crop, a maximum of $825 per county. But the meat of our programs, of every program, if you don't do it, you're not eligible. You have to do your annual acreage report. And that is a matter of just coming in, setting up an appointment. We'll have an aerial photography map printed of your property, and then you just tell us what crops or types of grasses are in each field and what you would like to do with it.
And also, y'all cover some of the disaster programs. So like now we've got with the coronavirus, and I know y'all have had other issues where you've had droughts, you know, you've covered for feed and stuff like that. You might discuss a little of that if you don't mind.
So the CARES Act has passed. The information hasn't come down yet. We're still kind of in the holding pattern of exactly what that will entail. But our every year disaster programs that are eligible, we have a livestock forage program, and we have to hit a certain status on the drought monitor for a certain length of time in order to trigger. And when we do trigger, you are eligible for a 3, 4, or 5 month payment that is calculated off of the approximate losses of your grazing. We have not had that program since 2015, luckily, because we've had enough rain and you've had enough forage. But if it does become available, we put out monthly bulletins through our email. We also send out text messages from our office that you can sign up for to be notified of any programs that we have come up.
And to be eligible for this, everybody needs to have a farm number, correct?
Yes.
So if they don't have a farm number, if they bought a new place and they're unsure about that, if there's even a farm number related, then they need to come see you. Is that correct?
Yes, and in order to be established as a producer, you would bring your deed or your tax statement in. The deed is a little better than the tax statement because it actually tells you the details of the property. We will pull up our aerial photography. You will find your property, and we will show us the boundaries, and we'll draw it out. And then any fields, your barns and houses and driveways are excluded because a cow or an animal cannot graze on those. And then we come up with, you know, however you want us to divide it out. You get your farm number, your tract number, and those numbers are only used for USDA identification purposes. They're in our office only. It doesn't go over to tax appraisal, and that's a big thing. People automatically assume that we get information from the tax appraisal when they purchase property, but we have no idea what land changes hands unless the new owner or the seller comes and tells us, hey, I sold this property or I purchased this property.
Right, right. And y'all don't necessarily handle anything the ag exemption part of it. Y'all are just the ones that help distribute some funds if so needed, or insure crops, possibly like wheat crops or something like that, correct? So if we had, like this year, we had a freeze on the pecan trees, I mean, is that
Yes.
something that y'all are probably going to deal with?
That is something that we'll deal with through the NAP program, and we won't know exactly how the payments calculate. With the NAP program, they are very personalized to each producer and the production that they have, and we won't really know that until after they harvest in December of 2020 into January of 2021.
Okay, so it's kind of after the fact a lot of these things happen, or as far as that goes, okay?
Yep.
All right, anything else you'd like to cover about the Farm Service Agency?
I don't think so.
All right, thank you, April.
Thank you.
So here right now today with Stacy with the USDA, the Natural Resource Conservation Service, which is the other side of the building as well. And of course, the USDA office is down here in Bowie, across from the rodeo grounds if you ever need to know location, and we'll get you some information to add to that as well. But Stacy, kind of tell us a little bit about what the Natural Resource Conservation Service does.
So we're all in the same building with the Farm Service Agency, and we, on our side of the building, we do conservation planning with landowners. So we'll go out with you on your property and look at what your goals and objectives are, and also to identify any resource concerns that there might be. If you have an erosion problem, if you need some fencing or grazing management issues, or whatever the problem might be. So we go with you and look at those issues and develop a conservation plan to address those issues. And then we have the Environmental Quality Incentive Program, EQIP that we call it, and through EQIP we can provide financial assistance to install like cross fencing, only interior fencing, grass planting, brush clearing, water development systems, whether that be a well, pipeline, and troughs, or digging a pond for livestock water, and erosion control measures. We do a lot of those practices. So you can make application to participate in the EQIP program after we've gone and identified what resource concerns you have that need to be addressed. And the Farm Service Agency determines the eligibility for our program. So once you have your farm number, track number, and you've done your eligibility paperwork, then you can apply for EQIP.
Okay. So is EQIP a pretty big program through y'all annually, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And I know it doesn't necessarily go how much funding is, well, I guess back up. Y'all are kind of limited on funding from year to year, correct?
It depends. We go through an initial funding allocation that is, we have some local allocation that we have that we can spend, and then once that is obligated, if we have remaining contracts, which we almost always, which we almost always do, then other counties that aren't able to spend their allocation, that money goes back in and is divvied up, and so we try to get as much of that money as we can.
And with the EQIP program, it kind of helps some of the producers out there, either whether they're wanting to replant their grass, get rid of some brush control, that kind of stuff. So it's always a valid program to look into. You have to apply annually, correct?
Correct. We take applications year-round. We'll have a funding cycle, and so there'll be a deadline to applications that we have by that deadline will participate in that funding cycle. And then if we get to have a second funding cycle in a year, it goes on like that if we've received applications in between.
And so how are these priorities set for the EQIP program?
So we get, they've changed it up a little bit this year. We're getting it was divided by cropland, rangeland, and pasture land. Now it's going to be cropland and grasslands. So they're not distinguishing between pasture, improved pasture, and range native grasses.
Okay.
So, but we put your application in the system, and then it is scored based on what the resource concerns are, the practices that you're using to address it, what the economic benefit is of the federal dollar that's going to be invested in the project, and that is all calculated computer. It's all electronic, so we don't have anything to do with other than putting what the application pertains. We don't have anything to do with the actual scoring of the application.
And I don't know, and I'll ask this, do y'all still do some of that wildlife programs as well? I know y'all used to do some of those, but I didn't know if those are available still. And then, if you do, that's fine. If not, you talk about those.
Wildlife specifically is incorporated into EQIP.
Okay.
There's not a specific program for wildlife. Well, actually, there's just a couple of programs that it's divided into.
Okay.
And then also we do have a monarch program, so there's a pollinator program, but it's also through EQIP. It's the same process that we
So-
go through for.
So EQIP pretty much catches it all now, where we used to have that WEP program and everything
Right,
else.
right,
Okay,
right.
that makes sense then. Also, Stacy and her staff, and we'll talk to a couple others here in a little bit too. They come out and visit and make site visits if you ever have questions on some of these things, and give advice and very in-depth information for them as well. So, Stacy, we appreciate you. You got anything else you'd like to add?
Oh, if you have a need, just give us a call right now. Of course, we can't allow visitors in the office, so we're to accommodate that. But we are making field visits still. So our phone number is 940-872-5329, extension 3, and that'll get the Natural Resources Conservation Service, or NRCS. And also, I'd like to introduce, we have a brand new employee, so if I could introduce him real quick.
Bring Jeff over here. And Jeff is, and he'll tell a little bit about himself, kind of migrated down from Pennsylvania, I understand. Is that right,
Yes,
sir?
sir. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
And you might tell a little bit about your history and what you're going to try to do here.
Yeah, well, I am a recent transplant. I've been here for a couple of weeks, and I went from 45-degree weather to 85-degree weather, so I didn't have a spring. Went from late winter to summer. And my background, I worked with county conservation in western Pennsylvania, and worked closely with NRCS up there with the soil health initiatives. And we worked there, primarily with a lot of cow-calf operations, where the farmers, they're not ranchers in Pennsylvania, they're farmers, and they were looking to improve their forage production and build the soil health. And we did a number of things with condensing, increasing the stocking density by shrinking down the paddock size and just moving them more often. And we saw good results with the soil infiltration rings that simulate the amount of rainfall that a soil can store. And just in one summer of changing how the land was managed, we saw soil that took in excess of 15 minutes to infiltrate 2 inches of rainwater. So 15 minutes down to about 35 seconds to take in that much rainfall. And basically what that attains to is a big thing the farmers say is, well, we don't get the rain like we used to. And you don't necessarily need the rain, you just need to make every drop of rain that comes out of the sky make that count. We didn't have too many, we had some row crops up there, but we did some work with some vegetable farmers in strip tilling and cover cropping, and we were starting to get into more the cocktail mix, where you have multiple species of cover crops, because in nature, even in the grass here, you don't just see a monoculture of one plant. It's a diverse mixture of multiple plants doing multiple things to the soil. So that's kind of my background. This is my second week here with NRCS, and I'm just getting started. Just got my computer and waiting to go through all the wonderful federal training.
So are you going to kind of focus on soil and soil health or plant and plant health then? Is that kind of what your focus is going to be?
That's my background. I don't know what
They'll have you into.
What all? I'm here to assist the district conservationist,
Okay.
Stacy. So
Okay.
I guess once I get through my conservation planning training and get more boots on the ground, we'll see. Ultimately, it's what the farmers want. Farmers and ranchers, what their needs and what the resource concerns are for the county,
Okay.
and how I can fit things in.
All
I'm
right.
real passionate about soil health. I have had the soil health rainfall rings made for my house, and are made for personal use, and then I took the plans from NRCS, and for the conservation districts I made the rainfall simulator tubes and the slate test tubes to go out and pull, and then we went out and pulled healthy soil and degraded soil and showed groups of farmers the difference, and ultimately the water quality and the water holding capacity on a healthy soil versus a degraded soil. And I just believe in building. That's if we're going to conserve a resource, let's make it a healthy resource. Why try and conserve something that's beat up and degraded and not as productive? Let's get the soils functioning properly first, and then conserve them.
Right. Okay. And Jeff will probably also be able to, once he gets everything going, as COVID-19 gets over with, I'm sure he'll be glad to come out and visit as well, or have you come in and visit with him. So again, works in the same office here, USDA office here across from the rodeo grounds here in Bowie. And you're just welcome to give him a call. 940-872-5329 is the USDA office number. And just depending on if you want to talk to the Farm Service Agency, the Natural Resource Conservation Service, or the Soil Conservation, they're all here in the same office down here in Bowie. And Jeff, we thank you and good luck to you.
Thank you.
All right, we have Carol Ann Corrado with us today with the Soil Water Conservation District here in Montague County. I guess covers mainly Montague County. Does it cover any of Cook County as well?
The Upper Elm Red Soil Water Conservation District is actually a 3-county district.
Okay.
It's Grayson, Cook, and Montague.
Okay. So your job here, I know you're kind of secretary for the group and kind of manage all 3 counties on this situation, but I mean, kind of tell us a little bit about what your job or what y'all's duty is as a board, I guess.
Okay, well, the district is the first local contact with the U.S. government. I mean, we're the local step before they actually get to there. Everybody has to sign a cooperator agreement if they get a contract and stuff. They may not know it, but they do. Anyway, the district itself, we go sell plant grass seed. If someone wants that, I can order it for them, and most of the time without shipping. So that saves a little bit of money, so we do that. We have book sales. Then the district is usually goes and does all the inspections, or with NRCS, they sometimes go with us, but the inspections on the flood prevention dams. And then we do all the maintenance work on them. We have contractors and stuff that we use to do all that maintenance on those dams.
So, and what she's talking about, conservation dams, or basically everybody calls them government lakes or whatever.
Right.
And so, when you have an issue, whether it's a fencing, an erosion problem, even I guess wildlife problem,
Yes.
Predaceous such as beavers, I guess. So,
Yes, yeah.
and,
That's a big problem here.
Right.
Or has been in the past. I haven't heard so much about that in the last year, maybe.
And so, and she's the contact for that to say, hey, we got some issues going on here, or maybe, there's something going on with these pond or retention dams. You need to be sure to get in contact with them, because they're the ones that kind of police it, so to say.
Yes.
And, take care of those ponds. So if you ever have issues of any kind, same phone number, 940-872-5329, and talk to Carol Ann.
Right.
Anything else you'd like? And she mentioned the book sales a while ago. The book that they do have, and I forget the title of it now, but it has all rangeland plants. So it has all the forbs, grasses, and woodies here for this part of the state. Has the actual pictures in there, talks a little bit about those plants. It's only, I think, a $25 book.
Yeah.
Very excellent resource to have, about 300 pages worth, I believe.
Beautiful
but very
pictures.
Beautiful pictures. Ricky Lennox has done a great job with that book. But it's one of those books that if you ever get a chance and you're wondering what's growing out here and how it's growing, call Carol Ann. They can sell you a book.
Yeah.
It's very well worth the $25 for sure. Carol Ann, anything else you'd like to cover?
Not that I know of. Just give us a
Okay.
call if you need some help.
All right. Thank you very much.